Welcome back to Module 3, Overcoming Identity. This one here is for those that are ready and understand now that the game of identity, the jig is up. We can see it now as a game because I think I've gone successfully to show you what identity really is. Now that we know what it is and I've shown you maybe a new perspective, let's talk about how we overcome identity, since it's so ingrained in us from kindergarten on, once we leave the home for the first time, that we need to become something and that what we are already is not enough. So let's dive in. Overcoming identity. Perhaps at this point of this mini course, you may see the advantage of knowing what you now know, and perhaps have enough energy to face all the doubt that will try to protect your old beliefs and patterns that are being challenged in the full course. If you decide to enroll, you will be taken in depth through what is called cognitive dissonance, and you will see and be taught and shown what may happen from facing former truths that you unwillingly and unknowingly formed before being aware enough of what you're actually doing. I'm not going to say that again, but maybe take a second and reread that. Cognitive dissonance, which we can just water down to resistance. Okay. So the main benefit of learning the truth of this identity word or belief system is that if you currently have any identities that you created that you hate, then since you created them, and we have broken down what is the brains and blood of these identities, you now have the key to your freedom of these. Since no identity is entirely true in regards to your eternal and infinite truth, meaning the moment, then that means these identities you no longer want are just a belief away from their destruction. I'm going to say that again. They're just a belief away from destruction. Authenticity and what is teaching now literally turns identity into a game, because we now know that we can never become anything except through the mind and it working in cooperation with natural laws discussed earlier. So it doesn't matter how much previous momentum there is, we can decide right now to subtract our identity back to the constant that is independent of the laws of this universe, because it's beyond change. Now I want to give you a quick quiz. What is that? You should know by now. What is that referring to? What is the constant that's beyond change? Multiple choice. Is it B, me? Is it A, I? AI. I didn't mean that. Is it C, citizen? So, again, the main benefit of learning the truth of this identity word or belief system, it's the key to your freedom. Since no identity is entirely true in regards authenticity, what it teaches, so it doesn't matter how much previous momentum there is. Nothing else on this planet that is beyond change except what you really are, which is seemingly buried beneath layers and layers of programs and societal conditioning. Let's look at who you are currently claiming to be and all of its memories and experiences as a house. In the analogy, each room contains different functions just like a real house. You don't eat in the bathroom just like you don't go to the bathroom in the kitchen. Every one of your rooms, identities, and its furniture or stuff serves a particular function in your current life. It is now time to clean our rooms by emptying out each space by neutralizing, and in the analogy of the house would be like removing the clutter. Now that you know about the screen of awareness and the inner space we are making, the infinite inner space, it's easy to see the amount of unnecessary things that our identities have collected. Some of us are actually hoarders. Maybe that's you. Now, don't succumb to the fear that you may be experiencing when thinking about no identity, as I am not teaching you to not have any identity. I am teaching you that we already had an identity before this world and influences helped us form one that is not aligned with who or what we really are. I am not teaching a life of no identity. I am only showing you that the one that our minds create is not really us because of so much belief and situational alignments that are needed to keep them alive. So, if you're experiencing fear or uncertainty or resistance or any negative reaction to what you're hearing, I'm not teaching you to just drop your identity and be like, I don't have an identity, I'm nothing. I went through that phase. Believe me, that is the danger of some of these new age teachings, that I had to go through a whole nightmare, if you will, to wake up from waking up. All right, that's what I call it now. But a long time I was so black or white with it, I thought, oh, I can't have an identity. I can't. That's not what it is. I'm teaching you this for one reason and one reason only, and that is if you currently become an identity and it's negative and it's limiting, then understand this: you can never become anything. So that applies for this negative identity you've been carrying around as well. Don't worry about creating a new identity. Go back to your default, which is your awareness, the I that creates all of your experiences. I'm not teaching you to forcefully not have an identity and just stay in a subtle state of resistance. That's what that whole teaching is. I'm not teaching you that. What I'm teaching you is to keep this in your wallet or purse. And that is, if you suddenly repeat something and the laws take over and you keep carrying around this negative identity, just know that it never is true. It's only a belief system, because we can never have any identity outside of the I. Okay? So that's the whole reason I'm teaching you this. It's not so that you can be like, oh, I got to live with no identity. Or antiquity said I shouldn't have an identity. And if I have an identity, I'm lost in some type of hypnosis. That's not what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you that if you become something, it's a lie. It's only held together by being a lie, belief. So use this as a toolbox to keep you from going back into old patterns or creating new negative patterns, because the whole idea we came here is not to suffer. It's to realize that we suffer until we realize we don't have to suffer. Okay? So it's like a little disclaimer I wanted to tell you to save you maybe even years of torment and torture that I went through when I started to go against or challenge some of my old realities. So you don't have to do that. Okay? I am teaching you that we already have an identity. Like I said, I am not teaching you a life and no identity. I am only showing you that the ones that our minds create is not really us because of so much belief and situational alignments. Like I said, when we clean our rooms, in this analogy, our real identity starts to show through when we admit that we really don't know who we are and we were just functioning on autopilot. In the next lesson, I will introduce you to your real identity, and actually the one universal identity, and you will also learn how to make the amazing transformation in the most sane and guided way that many others didn't get the luxury of having. And that's what I was explaining to you. I went through a torture process when I started to just let go of all identity, and I started experiencing dissociation and all these things, and I'm like, no. If everything is coming from self, and I understand that my mind is the only thing that's creating reality, then I have to take ownership of that. If I just watch my thoughts all day long and stay as the awareness, that's not accomplishing anything. That's not why we became human. So I had to understand this within myself, and now I'm teaching it to you so that you don't go off on these self-analysis tangents and try to be nothing over and over again, or try not to have an identity exist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to learn and understand your deepest identity, which is the I, and live solely from that, and then watch your life harmonize. That's what I'm saying. I'll see you in the next module.